Hi there, I'm going to tell you about Project Gewoon Vega to inspire you with generating ideas for the future of food and beverage at WUR. So this project, which loosely translates to Default Veggie, was about nudging sustainable food choices. And in this video I'm going to tell you all about what that is. So my name is Natalie van Dis and I did this project during my master's studies with a great team of other students. So you see them here on the picture: Maaike de Leeuw, Julia Ertl, Mardie Vermunt and Tiemen Wagenvoort. And we also received a lot of help when we're doing this project. So I want to acknowledge our collaborators here. People from University of Utrecht, Anastasia Vugts from Wageningen University, and also we worked in close collaboration with the catering company of University of Utrecht at the time, Sodexo. So what did we actually do? We tried to promote sustainable food choices in a university restaurant. And more specifically, we focused on vegetarian sandwiches in a university library restaurant, which you see here on the picture. So why did we do that? Well, we find sustainability very important, and also Utrecht University has sustainability goals. So one of their goals, for example, is to be CO2 neutral in 2030, and having a vegetarian diet is an easy way to decrease your ecological footprint. So how did we then try to do this? So in the past, one thing many universities have done is to have a meatless Monday. So here are some headlines from a while back, and one is actually from your university, where students actually started a protest against Meatless Monday. And also at Utrecht University, this Meatless Monday was received very negatively. So obviously telling people what to do can backfire. So instead we used a different approach where we combined an information campaign with nudging. So what is nudging? Nudging is where you make small changes in the representation of choices so that your preferable choice becomes the easy and default choice. So this is also where our name comes from, so Gewoon Vega or Default Veggie. And the main advantages of this approach is that you keep the freedom of choice, so you get a less negative reaction because people can still make the choice they want to make. And you also tap into automatic decision making because food choices are often made unaware or unconsciously. So in our campaign, we used two nudges. The first one was a repositioning nudge. So in the restaurant where we worked, the sandwiches were presented on these white plates. And we made sure that the vegetarian sandwiches were placed at the front and the non-vegetarian sandwiches at the back. And then we implemented a second nudge, a salience nudge, where you make sure that your product group, it pops out. So we used color for that. We put a green disc underneath the vegetarian sandwiches to make them stand out more. Then we had an information campaign, and there were two main reasons for that. The first one was that we wanted to create awareness and influence people's values. So tell them why it's important to make these sustainable choices, and then also hope that they find it important as well. And the second big reason is transparency. So nudging is often it's unconscious, and you want to tell people what you are doing and why you are doing it. So some notes on the design. So we had these information columns in the canteen on the tables, and we had the same information as big billboards in the canteen itself. So here's a zoom in of the information that was on there. So we had eat vegetarian more often and reduce your ecological footprint in 3 ways. And then we focus on these 3 resources that you save by having a vegetarian diet. So you save land, water and CO2. And we are definitely not experts in design. So instead we looked for good examples, and then we took some guidelines from these. So I list these guidelines here that we used. So we thought less is more. So we only focused on these 3 resources that you save by having a vegetarian diet, but obviously there are more because people have limited attention. Then we wanted to tell it in pictures. So pictures just stick more, but they also help you understand it better. So for example, if we go back to the design, for water, we had to choose a hummus sandwich over a beef sandwich and save at least 2 bathtubs of drinking water, which gives you a much better idea of how much water that actually is, instead of just having the number 160 liters. Then we used positive phrasing, so to not have that negative reaction, and we used color to emphasize things. So in our design, you have in green the things you save. So you save 7 football fields of land, 2 bathtubs of water, a road trip by car to Moscow and back in CO2 by having a vegetarian lunch. Then we had feedback to our customers. So we had slides up in the canteens, for example this one. So in November in this restaurant, our vegetarian choice saved 820 bathtubs of water. So to reinforce the positive behavior that we were seeing. Then some notes on the methods, because we also wanted to measure if our intervention was actually effective. So we monitored sandwich sales to see if vegetarian sandwiches were going up. Then we used eye tracking. So here in the picture you see someone wearing these glasses that are doing eye tracking. So we can measure where people are looking and how long they are looking at it. So we used this to evaluate our nudges. And then we also looked at customer experience. So we conducted surveys with more than 200 people, and we also did 4 more in-depth interviews. So some results. So our project actually resulted in an increase in vegetarian sales. So here you see the mean number of vegetarian sandwiches sales relative to the non-vegetarian ones. So in the null weeks, so where we just measured the baseline sales, the canteen sold on average 4 more vegetarian sandwiches compared to non-vegetarian ones. And with our interventions, this number went up. And when both our nudges were present and the information campaign, there was a significant increase in the vegetarian sales. Not only that, but there was also an increase in the overall sandwich sales. So at baseline, the canteen sold on average 25 sandwiches, and when our intervention was present, this almost doubled. So this was a great incentive to show the catering business that promoting sustainable choices is not bad for business. Then the customer experience. So with the eye tracking, we saw that people looked more often and longer at the sandwiches when our nudges were present. But the surveys, they showed that people are not aware of nudges. So this underlines why you should also have an information campaign. Then we found that people already found sustainable choices important. So on average, they scored importance at 3.6 out of 5. But there is an intention behavior gap. So when we interviewed people, they said they knew why it's important. They also found it important themselves, but then they didn't act like it. So they didn't actually make more sustainable choices. So this really emphasizes that it can help a lot to also have a behavioral intervention like nudging. So in conclusion, to promote sustainable food choices, for us it was a good combination to have an information campaign and the nudges. We showed that only with a few simple changes you can already promote vegetarian choices, and these nudges were not only simple, but they were also cheap and easy to implement. But the need to inform remains, because you want to remain transparent of what you are doing, that you are influencing people and why you are doing it. And in our case, what was good for ecological footprint was also good for the sales. So Project Gewoon Vega was really a success, which was actually very unexpected, because we were just a bunch of students who came up with a good idea for coursework. And then we ended up actually implementing it and promoting sustainability along the way. So I hope that our story can help you generate ideas for the future of catering at the WUR. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, or if you just want to know more. And I want to wish you the best of luck.